I read this book about Dietrich Mateschitz, the founder of Red Bull, and how he built the company that now sells billions and billions and billions of dollars of energy drinks per year and is recognized by 90+% of the global population. Dietrich Mateschitz, when he passed away, had a net worth over $27 billion. There are 10 lessons that I found in this book that I want to relate to you in this video. These will help you and I as young entrepreneurs, specifically in marketing. Most of the lessons are in marketing, but also in lifestyle and in being an effective entrepreneur and founder. Number one lesson is you must sell. It does not matter how amazing your product is. If you do not put it in front of people that will buy it, you must sell. Everything is marketing, is what Dietrich Mateschitz used to say. Everything, from the packaging, from the website, from the emails, from the content, from the social media, from the name. Every touch point is marketing, and you absolutely must prioritize selling and marketing if you want to sell your product. It does not matter how good your product is. You have to sell. Red Bull, for example, their basic mission statement, or their ethos, their guiding ethos of sorts, this is written, this is like literally on paper, is the utilization of the Red Bull brand. It's not to make the best energy drink. It's not to sell a billion cans. It's not to have the best production systems. It was the utilization of the Red Bull brand. They outsourced production. They outsourced distribution. They were essentially a sales and marketing. That's what they are. They're essentially a sales and marketing business. That's their focus. You absolutely must sell if you want your product to be in the hands of people that will benefit from the product. You absolutely must sell. Number two, make people feel something. With your marketing, with your content, with your messaging, it's all about how you make somebody feel. We used to live back before Google, AI, YouTube, all these search engines, and the abundance of information we have. We used to live in a scarce information age where the job of marketers was to inform people. Hey, our product does this. This is why our product does this. This is the ingredients. This is all these different things. It was all information-based because there was a scarcity of information. What we now have is an abundance of information. So good marketers, according to Red Bull, make people feel something. They, with their messaging, their content, their associations, their branding, their actual product, they prioritize the evoking of emotion, of a positive emotion in association with their product. Make people feel something. Do not overwhelm your consumer with more information because they already have so much, they don't know what to do with it. So it's the company or you and I's job to gather that information, package it, and make people feel something with our content, with our branding, with our actual product and whatnot. Make people feel something. Number three, lean into mystique. Red Bull is a privately held company, keeps, for its entirety of existence, it has kept a lot of things close to the chest. Dietrich Mateschitz, the founder, was obsessively private. And there's the reason that's important is because when you only reveal the information that is pertinent to your brand or to you, it causes people to be intrigued because there's these knowledge gaps. And when we have knowledge gaps, we want to fill the gaps. So what happens is rumors start. People have this intrigue. They start looking into different things. Red Bull did this to the furthest extent, to the point where they had rumors going around that it was laced with amphetamines, that one of the ingredients was a derivative of bull testicles, and that it was like extremely dangerous, that it was linked to deaths, all these different things. They didn't do anything to refute these rumors. They let the mystique and the mystery compel people to look into their brand. They leaned into it. They did not refute it. In fact, they kind of created fertile land for the rumors to sprout on purpose. You've heard the saying, all publicity is good publicity. That's what Red Bull did, and I think that's very important because if you reveal too much information, there's no intrigue. There's no allure to your brand there's no allure to your brand for consumers. So when you lean into mystery, when you allow rumors and intrigue to be formed, it allows these gaps to remain unfilled, which people will ultimately fill themselves, which causes them to be a little bit more interested in your product. Dietrich Mateschitz said something to the effect that the worst thing for a business is a lack of interest. You have to create the interest, and the way you do that is creating allure and leaning into the mystery of it all. Number four, sort of a subset of number three, but keep quiet about everything except what you want to sell. Red Bull, as I said, privately held company. They wanted every bit of attention to be garnered on the very specific thing that they were selling, which was the energy drink. They didn't release information about their operating structure, about their compensation. They didn't release information about their distribution system, their supply chain, none of that. They wanted every bit of association and attention that was given to Red Bull as a brand to be towards the energy drink, the thing that they were selling. I think this is a really important lesson for you and I as young entrepreneurs to keep quiet about things that do not directly contribute to the selling of the product that we're selling. Because people have limited attention, people have limited associations. When you start associating your brand with things other than the thing you're selling, it detracts from the ability to sell it. Keep quiet about everything except the thing you're trying to sell. Number 5, loyalty. Dietrich Mateschitz was a old school guy in that he prioritized loyalty and honor. He had multi-$100 million agreements that were handshakes. He prioritized long-term partnerships. And the way that you can do this, the only way that you can do this really, is if you have a long time horizon. If you are okay with the long game. If you are short-term focused and you want your company to be this profitable by this month in the near future, that's all fine and dandy, but you literally have to sacrifice some principle and some long-term strategy in order to do that. That was not Red Bull's strategy at all. Dietrich Mateschitz actually found that to be pretty distasteful, and he was never a proponent of profit-first businesses. He thought that there was many other things, including, but not limited to, loyalty and honoring people that helped you out and continuing these long-term partnerships so that you could build great things together and have this mutual trust and loyalty. Number 6, semi-related to number 5 as well, is have fewer friends but better friends. Dietrich Mateschitz was, as I already said, a very private, closed person. He had a select few really close, really good, high-powered, trusting, loyal friends, and that's all he needed. He was not trying to be friends with everybody. He was not trying to be associated with everybody. He had a few good friends, and that's all he needed, and he prioritized those relationships. Number 7, principles. Have principles and do not sacrifice them. There's this idea that respect is better than popularity. Popularity is pretty much fruitless. There's nothing that really comes from it because popularity it's volatile. It's transient. It goes up and down, up and down. But when you are respected for the way that you live and honoring your commitments and living by the principles that you espouse or that you want to live by, people respect that. And respect is greater than popularity. Dietrich Mateschitz had an operating framework that he lived by religiously. He would not sacrifice his principles for anything, and that proved to be very fruitful in his life, and I think the same would be for you and I if we had very clear, delineated principles and we lived up to them. Number 8, understand your temperament. My good friend Noah Ryan has helped me in this regard a whole lot, but the idea that you have to experiment and explore to gather feedback about who you are, how you operate, in what environments do you operate best, and what environments do you operate worse, what makes you tick, what makes you succeed, what all this information, gathering all this information about who you are and what your temperament is allows you, if you are aware of the feedback and intentional about reflecting on the feedback, it allows you to put yourself in the position to succeed because bio-individuality is real. You and I are not the same. What works for you does not work for me. What works for somebody else might not work for somebody else. We have a bio-individual temperament. Dietrich Mateschitz, for example, understood, he literally says this in a quote, paraphrasing, but he says something like, I have a very lazy nature. In nature, I am lazy. So I know that I will not do anything alone. So instead of not doing anything alone and just being like, oh, I'm lazy, I surround myself with people so that when I need to work out, I'm working out with people. When I need to do this type of work, I'm working with these type of people. When I need to do this, I'm working with these type of people. He understood this. This is obviously a very small example, but the overall idea of gathering feedback, experimenting and exploring, being intentional about learning how to understand that feedback and those feedback loops that get created, it's very important. If you put yourself in a particular environment and you notice that it makes you feel better, understand what about that environment makes you feel better. Understand about what you're eating. Understand about what the the place looks like, the nature looks like, the people around you looks like. Understand your temperament. If you do, you can then put yourself in an environment that will allow your temperament and you to thrive. Dietrich Mateschitz was a master at this. He believed that environment mattered. It was actually a pretty core philosophy in their operating structure at Red Bull, where they were located in terms of their headquarters, what their headquarters looked like, all these different things. You understand your temperament, you can put yourself in environments that will allow you to thrive. Number 9, conservative and unconventional. Dietrich Mateschitz had foundational principles, as we already mentioned, that act as constraints, really. When you have principles, there's things that you won't sacrifice, there's guardrails that you will not go outside of. The beauty of that is creativity only exists in constraints. Constraints are actually what require creativity. If it's all open land, there's no creativity about where you need to build the house or build the building or how you need to build it. All these different variables are not as important if there's unlimited freedom. Constraints are what create creativity. There's a quote that I love. It says, "Be orderly and regular in your life so that you can be violent and original in your work." Dietrich Mateschitz was that to a T, because in his life, he was very conservative in terms of his principles. He was well-mannered. He was very polite. He was very charismatic and genial in day-to-day conversations. But he was extremely unconventional and nonconformist in his work and in his creativity and in his business operations. The foundational principles and the conservative foundation that he had allowed him to be violent and original in his work and in his creativity, and that's what ultimately led to Red Bull being a multi-billion dollar company. Number 10, the most important is persistence. Persistence. Persistence is the most important virtue because it is the virtue that allows all other virtues to continue being lived by at their tipping point. Because if you get to a point where you're in need of another virtue but you don't have persistence, then you won't persist and be able to employ that other virtue, if that makes sense. Persistence is the key. If you stay in the game long enough to get the results you want, then you will get them. If you do not, it's very simple, you will not get the results. Dietrich Mateschitz was extremely persistent throughout his time with Red Bull, throughout the ups and downs, which you and I will certainly face. If we do not harbor and cultivate a sincere ability to persist in the face of danger, of risk, of suffering, of angst, then we will fail. But if we can cultivate genuine persistence and the ability to be resilient and the fortitude to continue on moving forward resolutely, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, then we will succeed. It's just a matter of time. So those are the 10 most important lessons from Red Bull's founding. I did a full episode on this book. You can watch it somewhere in the end screen. It's a longer episode, more in depth about the actual Red Bull brand, the business, how they built the company, how Dietrich Mateschitz operated as a person and a founder. If you like this video, you will certainly like that one. But in any case, hope you enjoyed.